guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Rose Review. My name is Adam Rose, and today we're going to be talking about a film called Captain Fantastic, directed by Matt Ross. This is an indie film. It came out early July, about on July 15th, and I went and saw this film with my girlfriend Krystin, and she's here with us today and is going to be talking about the film with us. So say hello, Krystin.
Hey, everybody.
Awesome. So we're going to be talking about this film. We're going to give our overall thoughts on the film and then get into some specifics. So if you enjoy any part of the review today, please go ahead and subscribe on iTunes, leave a review, leave a comment, share it with your friends, family, and go ahead and like us on Facebook at Rose Reviews. So let's talk about this film. So I went into this film and I saw the trailer and I immediately was drawn to this film. I thought it had a lot of potential in it. And so I went into this movie really wanting to love it, and I came out liking it. But I didn't love it, and we'll get into that why. But Krystin, what were your thoughts going into the film and your thoughts coming out?
I definitely would agree with you. I went in with really high expectations. After seeing the trailer, I was expecting a really thought-provoking piece, something that would leave me with, questions to myself that were left to be answered in regards to, just ethics about raising children and the way that you live your life and how it affects your children. And I think with those expectations, they were somewhat fulfilled. I would say that they were somewhat fulfilled, but at the same time, I don't think that the movie really did much to expand on those thought-provoking, concepts. It really would have sufficed just to have watched the trailer to get those concepts in your head already.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and give you guys a quick synopsis of the film. And again, these reviews are spoiler-free, so don't be too worried about that. We're not going to go into any spoilers of the film. So the synopsis of the film is: in the forests of the Pacific Northwest, a father devoted to raising his 6 kids with a rigorous physical and intellectual education is forced to leave his paradise and enter the world, challenging his idea of what it means to be a parent. So basically what this film is about is a family whose mother is recently in the hospital that has grown up and lives in this forest, basically, and has their own house out there. And it has a lot to say about, one, how we raise our children, about life itself, about our society today. It's questioning a lot of those things in kind of a family drama setting. This mainly stars Viggo Mortensen, who from Lord of the Rings fame played Aragorn in those films, is the biggest film that he's really been in. Matt Ross is the director and the writer, and he really is more known for an actor. He's been in a lot of TV shows, but he hasn't really directed any major motion pictures. This is really his first one. He does, I think, a pretty good job at it. So let's talk about, now we kind of get our overall thoughts. Now let's talk about the director and the direction itself. Krystin, what were some of your thoughts about the way this film was directed, maybe the way it looked, some of the actor performances that he got out of them, anything like that?
I think that he did a really good job to get a lot out of particularly the youngest children. I think that would be a difficult job. But the children were actually really good characters. I really came to appreciate all of them and their uniqueness, and most specifically, I think the youngest children of the group did a really good job of acting very candidly, and it was very believable for me.
I said that's what I was going to say, is I felt like I could really believe them. And I think, to Matt Ross's credit, I think he got some really great performances out of these young child actors who maybe not have the most experience with films, and that he really got really great performances out of them. Also, he has some really great sense about, I would say, half of this movie takes place in the forest area. He got some really great, beautiful, natural-looking, great lighting, tracking shots of nature and things like that are really beautiful to see. I think anyone who enjoys nature, enjoys beautiful filmmaking, I think he, for a first-time major motion picture director, did a really good job with some of these shots. What do you think? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's just a beautiful area to be filming in general.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of difficult to go wrong with that. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. He got some really, really beautiful shots. Particularly the opening shot is really stunning as they, panning on all the forest and the trees, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. So let's talk about the writing. So Matt Ross also wrote it. Let's talk about the plot and kind of where the story goes, without spoilers, of course. So they're in the forest for a while, and then they end up having to take this road trip for this specific reason I'm not going to say. But they end up having to take this road trip, and it's about, the kids kind of learning about life a little bit, getting out of their element a little bit, and seeing where that takes them, and whether this philosophy of living in the forest and raising your kids in this way is the right thing or the wrong thing. And I think it has a lot to say about that. So overall, I really enjoyed this story. I think the main problem with it, though, is it has these grand philosophical, is that a word?
No, the pronunciation was a little off,
okay.
But philosophical.
Philosophical, thank you. He has these great philosophical ideas, and I feel like they are never really achieved. I feel like he was very ambitious, and what he was going for never fully comes to fruition in the film. Yeah, so that was my main problem with it. I do think there's some good things about this film, but I think at the end of the day, when you're sitting, the film is ended, it's like, oh, okay. I feel like it was kind of beat over your head a little bit of this is what we think, and this is, and it didn't really challenge me as much as I wanted it to in regards to, oh, is this lifestyle right? Is this lifestyle right? It just didn't challenge me maybe as much as I wanted. What do you think?
I would agree. Instead of leaving the theater more intrigued about exploring that idea, kind of just mentally later on, I was kind of like over it, I guess, is the most basic way to say that. I felt like it didn't really do a whole lot to develop on that concept throughout the film. And by the time that we got to the end of the film, I was done with that question. I really didn't feel like we accomplished much in the film as far as, exploring that philosophical idea. So I agree. It left a little bit to be developed, and I would agree with you when you said that it kind of beat you over the head with the same question without really expanding on that idea.
Yeah. There's one of the actors, so let's get into the performances. I thought Viggo Mortensen, this is the best performance I've seen out of him since Return of the King. I thought he was awesome in Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. So this was the best performance I've seen out of him in a really long time, and I thought he nailed it as the father of this family. He had a lot to do and was really the main driving force of this, and if you didn't like him or care about his character, you're not going to be in the film. So I thought he did a really great job with that, and working with a lot of these younger actors, I also thought he did a great job. There's also an actor I'd never heard of. His name's George McKee. He plays Bo, which is the oldest son of the family, and he has a really great arc. I think maybe him and Viggo Mortensen's character Ben, the father, have the most character development in the film. I would say really focused on them and where they're going in this journey. So I think I enjoyed those two performances, but maybe I enjoyed them the most because they had the most development. Was there any performances besides those two? Because I know we agree on those two for the most part that stuck out to you. I know you said the young children, the young boy.
The youngest boy, the very youngest boy, stuck out to me just because he was lovable and he was candid, and it was just the most believable performance, I think, to me, as far as the younger children go. Now, of course, I think that the oldest son as well as the father did have the most character development, and that being said, I really did become quite attached to those characters. But in terms of the other characters, I'd say the youngest son was the most, I guess, easy to connect to.
Yeah, and a lot of those child actors, for me, it's a hit or miss. Mm-hmm. It's a hit or miss. You're either going to get a great performance out of them or, not so great. But I think a lot of the younger kids in this one were really great at being in the moment in this, and I believed a lot of the things that they were going through and they were saying and they were experiencing. So I think the acting, I had no problems with anybody's performances. Did you see any performances that stuck out to you in a poor manner? I didn't really have any.
No, the only thing that really stuck out to me that I would have changed in terms of the acting and maybe the writing a little bit as well was just that I felt like the family was, particularly the children, were a little bit less affected by their situation than I thought that they probably should be.
Yeah, and I think maybe that part of that is the reasoning is because these kids are so put through so much on such a regular basis that maybe they wouldn't be as emotionally damaged as they should be. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe that's what the process was, but I do see your point. I do see what you're saying.
Right. I mean, I think that they're put through a lot intellectually and physically, but I don't know about emotionally.
Yeah.
I mean, especially given some of the reactions of the oldest son and kind of like a first female encounter type situation. You could tell that he's not as in control of his emotions as
which you
somebody
see a little bit in the trailer.
Which as somebody in society interacting with other people regularly, you might have that. I feel like the children, just through the situation that they go through, would probably emotionally not be as equipped to handle the situation as they turned out to be.
Yeah, I could see that. So let's talk about if you would recommend someone see this film. So I would say, this has a 75% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which means about 3 out of 4 critics give it a fresh score, meaning they recommend it. It has an 82% audience rating. So that means about 8 out of 10 audience members really enjoyed this film. I'm definitely in. I enjoyed this film, and I would recommend it. I would recommend it if you want to see a family drama. It is rated R. There is language and a couple nudity shots. Nothing gratuitous by any means, but just be aware that it is rated R. It's a good family drama. It will make you think, but maybe not think as much as, I and Kristen personally wanted to think. But I do think it still does make you think about a few things. And I would say it was an enjoyable film. I would see it again. It's something that I enjoyed, and I would recommend that you would go see. What would you say?
I would definitely recommend seeing it. I mean, if you go into it with realistic expectations and you're just wanting to enjoy an 1 to 2 hour period of your life be entertained, I think that's what you're going to get out of it. If you're wanting something eye-opening or thought-provoking, I don't think that that's really what you're going to get out of it. At least that's not.
I would say it's thought-provoking, just not as much as maybe we had wanted.
Perhaps. I would say that the concept of the movie is thought-provoking. If you go into it just not even seeing it, but having been explained the synopsis,
so
in more detail.
The bones of it, and then the meat's not as juicy as we would have wanted it to be. So out of a score from 0 to 5, 0 being the worst movie you've ever seen, so a thorn, 5 being a full-grown rose, 5 being like one of the best movies you've ever seen, what would you give this on a score of 0 to 5?
I would say 3.5, 3.75, in that range.
Okay.
Like I said, I liked the movie. It definitely was not bad by any means. My main flaw, my mistake, was going into it with too high of expectations.
Yeah.
But it was a good movie, and I would definitely recommend seeing it. I don't think that you'll be too disappointed that you wasted your money or anything like that. No. It is entertaining, and it's a beautiful film.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it a 3.5. So I'm going to be pretty close to you. 3.5 out of 5. I think if you like the concept and you want a good family drama with some pretty solid performances, pretty beautiful shots, I would say this is definitely worth checking out. So that'll be it for today. I'll just say thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, if you like this podcast, please go ahead and subscribe to it on iTunes. Go ahead and like us on Facebook at The Rose Review. And until next time, I'll see you at the movies. Bye-bye.